no longer silent. Patient access stories.
I'm frustrated. I'm pissed. I'm at work. Honestly, I was ready to give up. Like, forget it. I don't even want the surgery no more. Just let it be what it is. Like, I'm gonna leave it in God's hands. Like, whatever happens, happens. Because I'm tired of playing phone tag. I keep having to excuse myself from work and to step out and take these phone calls because I can't just take off from work. I only been at work 2 weeks.
We're getting loud today with 1-year survivor and mom, Tonya Benefield. Are you a breast cancer survivor?
Yes, ma'am, I am.
Wonderful. Can you tell us a little bit more about your diagnosis?
I don't know the official name because I get it wrong every single time. It's an acronym. But I was diagnosed with originally it was a precancerous form of high-risk breast cancer in my right breast near my nipple area. Discovered by a tumor or a lesion. And after my surgery, it was discovered that I did have a few live cells and they removed additional tissue along with the tumor and removed everything. So that was my diagnosis.
Okay. So was it DCIS? Is that what they said? Ductal and carcinoma in situ?
There we go. I knew you'd remember. I'm like, I get it wrong. I need to just tattoo it on my arm or something. No. I never get it right.
You know what? You don't have to tattoo it because most of them don't identify with an acronym. So when you said, acronym, it took me back to DCIS. You'll get it or not. And however it rolls is fine, with you for however it shows up for you. So don't think that you are doing this journey wrong. The only wrong way is to not do the journey. And I'll take that as my cue to my next question, which is actually how I was introduced by you, is that several people had reached out to me regarding your situation because you were posting on Facebook about some challenges that you were having. Will you tell us a little bit about how this journey began for you?
Originally, so we're in 2024. So at the end of 2022, October of 22, I discovered some drainage coming out of my nipple. And at first, of course, I'm way past the breastfeeding stage because my son is in high school now. So I figured it had to be something, but it was kind of coming and going. It wasn't consistent like every single day. And then by, I want to say February, end of February, it was still ongoing and it was still kind of coming, but it was coming more frequently. And the color was changing drastically. Originally, it was like a clearish liquid, and then it ended up being brown and then blood. So I reached out to my primary care doctor through my insurance, and I tried to get a referral for a specialist to go get a mammogram or get some type of breast exam through my OB. And she said, well, I can get you an exam to do a breast exam for your OB, but you can't get a mammogram because you're too young. I was only 34 at the time. So she's like, you can't get a mammogram because you're too young. And so she asked me did I discover any lumps or anything like that. And I had my mom do a little exam for me. And I thought what I was discovering was a lump, and it may have been a tumor that I felt, but I wasn't really sure because it didn't feel solid or hard or moving or anything like that. So, and she was like, well, if you don't have anything like pressing where it's like it really feels like a lump or a bulge or anything like that, I can't really make the referral. But the best I can do is do a breast exam with your OB or gynecologist, but it was going to be about 30 days out. I wasn't going to get scheduled for another month. So I scheduled it anyway, just as a backup, and it was going to be for like March, and then it got canceled because the doctor went out of town. So when I called to reschedule, it was pushed to May. So I posted on Facebook that I was having some issues trying to get, just to get a mammogram, just to get a referral to start somewhere. And a girlfriend of mine reached out and was like, hey, I know this organization. I think they might be really good for you. I'm going to connect. Do you mind if I connect you guys to them? And it was originally the I'll Be Aware Foundation. So I said, sure. And so someone reached out and they were saying they were going to try to work with my insurance to get me something a little sooner. I was in the process of changing jobs. And during my interview, we were going over just regular interview questions for my new position. And at the end, thankfully, she wanted to hire me, but I had to be upfront and let her know that I was going through this process and trying to get seen. And, I didn't know what was going to happen and what was going to come of it. But I had to let her know the truth that whenever I did start, eventually I was either going to have something happen. And it was a little embarrassing because you don't want to start a job off with, quote unquote, having to take off work before you even start. But I had to be honest and let her know, when I do start, if I start in the next 30 days, 2 weeks, I don't know what's going to happen. And I let her know, she asked me, well, what was the process? Where was I at? And I told her, as of right now, it's up in the air. I hadn't had a referral yet. I still hadn't gotten my mammogram. I was still waiting. And so she was like, absolutely not. That's not okay. I know who to connect you to. And so she was like, I have a really good friend who's a no holds barred type lady. Like, I think she'll be really good for you. Do you mind if I connect you? Can I tell a little bit about, what's going on, but I don't want to tell her everything. You tell the rest. I was like, any help I can get to get seen sooner, the better. And so she connected me to Carrie's Touch with Miss Tammy. And from that moment on, they made me feel comfortable, welcome. And I got a referral within 2 weeks and I got seen a week after that. So, and it just kind of started the process. Was kind of back and forth with my insurance. The ladies were super helpful and relentless and calling around, making sure I got what I needed, and that the appointments were coming back to back and not weeks and weeks out like they were originally trying to schedule me. And with the help of them and some advocacy, I know I had a doctor's appointment and Miss Tammy was on the phone with me. I was texting another young lady who was able to walk me through some things. Miss Tammy called me before one of my appointments and she gave me some talking points and was like, okay, we're going to go over this. Ask them this, and this, write it down, text it. If you need me to text you to remind you, let me know, we'll do what we have to do to make sure you get the support that you need. And from there, I was able to get my surgery scheduled. Originally, it was going to be for September, end of September, October again, because my surgeon through oncology was going out of town. And so they were like, well, we have to schedule it with oncology and your surgeon, and the appointment has to come up. And so thankfully, one became available at the middle of August. So August 26th is when I had my surgery. And my recovery was up and down, but that was my journey.
Wow. So I'm going to take a beat and I am going to go back and I'm going to do a recap and I'm going to go back because I acknowledge that, your process was a lot. You began in November and you didn't have surgery. You began in November of 2022 and you didn't have surgery until August of 2023.
Right.
That is a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And it was, so this entire campaign, and one of the reasons that I wanted you to be part of this campaign is because it's about patient access issues, whether it be step therapy, whether it be co-pays, whether it be what's called PBM, pharmaceutical benefit managers that, costing too much. That's not your issue here, or access to care.
Mm-hmm.
So you gave us a nice linear rendition of your story, but the reality of it is that even once you were connected to Carrie's Touch, it was not smooth.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, you got some initial appointments, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And then some appointments were canceled.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So tell us a little bit about that, where we think we're on the right track. We think we are finally headed down the right road. And I believe that I called you and said, hey, when's your appointment? And then you told me what?
I was like, oh, got some bad news. They called and canceled. My doctor was busy, or I think he was going out of town, or he had a surgery that ran over. Let me back up before that. Originally, they connected me to a different specialist, and that was probably the most difficult and probably the most hurtful part during this process, because when we were trying to tag team and call and get my blood work scheduled, get my imaging scheduled, they kept trying to send me to the same specialist that was no longer taking patients if I was not officially diagnosed with breast cancer. And I had only had my mammogram, and I had only had one imaging, but I had the imaging without contrast first. So, and they took, I had, by this time I did have the biopsy, but they kept having to send me back for more imaging because they couldn't really tell what it was. And when they connected me to the first specialist, it was a medical assistant called back the scheduler, and he was like, well, are you officially diagnosed with breast cancer? And I said, I don't think so. We're still in the process of trying to figure out exactly what this is. And then she's like, oh, well, she's not taking any appointments, right? No new patients right now. If you're not officially diagnosed with breast cancer, she's not seeing you guys. And so I was like, well, what is you guys? What does that mean? And she was like, well, not patients that are not officially positive breast cancer. I have to send your referral back. She said, I have to cancel this one. Send your referral back to back to your insurance. They have to deal with you. I said, okay. 3 days go by. I don't hear anything. Me and my mom are on the phone on three-way together, trying to call the referral specialist office to get another referral out. 2 days go by again. They finally call me back, and they send me back to the same office. I called back immediately, and I said, hey, I already called this office. They called me back. They're not seeing patients. Well, that's all we have. We have to send you there. My mom calls back and she gets upset. And I believe the ladies at Carrie's Touch were calling too, because I communicated the same thing with them and let them know they keep sending me back to the same person and they're denying me, basically. I don't hear from anybody for a week. Nobody calls me back and says anything. I finally get a call. No, my mom calls as I'm walking into work, and she calls me on three-way. The young lady says, oh, yeah, well, we from the same office. I can hear in the background, and this is where I got my feelings hurt, and I cried. I could hear in the background, it was like a call center type office, and there's voices in the back. So my mom was like, this is my daughter. She gave the permission to speak on behalf of the whole nine. She's like, can you tell her what you originally said about her referral? Oh, girl, I don't know what we're going to do with you because, this ain't going to work. And so I'm like, well, what's not going to work? I said, did you get the referral? The specialist said they sent it over Friday. But again, I'm not trying to get, and I say that, so I'm not trying to get you guys frustrated. I don't want you guys upset because I know we keep playing phone tag, but I don't know where the disconnect is coming from with the referral specialist. They keep sending me back to you guys, and I know you're not taking new patients. She's like, girl, I don't know what we're going to do with you, but I'm going to just have to send you back to them because this ain't going to work over here. She said it twice. My mom's texting me, and I can feel her energy. She's getting mad. She's texting. My mom is in Florida at this point, so I can tell she's getting upset. And I'm texting her like, my mom texted me. She said, did she say what I think she said? I said, Mom, calm down. We're trying to get answers. I said, ma'am, please don't do that. I've been sent back and forth multiple times. If you have another specialist that you know takes my insurance, can you just send the referral back to them? Because if you cancel it again, I have to start all over. I can't do that. I don't have a list. You just have to wait on the referral specialist office. At this point, I'm in tears. I'm frustrated. I'm pissed. I'm at work, and I'm annoyed. And my mom's upset. She's crying because she's like, this got to stop. So I call Miss Tammy and I tell her what she says, and she's like, oh, hell no, this is not going to work. I don't know who called who, because at that point, honestly, I was ready to give up. Like, forget it. I don't even want the surgery no more. Just let it be what it is. Like, I'm going to leave it in God's hands. Like, whatever happens, happens, because I'm tired of playing phone tag. I keep having to excuse myself from work and to step out and take these phone calls because I can't just take off from work. I only been at work 2 weeks. I just started. I get a phone call from another doctor's office, and they're like, hey, we received a referral to schedule you for your blood work and pre-op stuff, for a potential surgery. And I'm like, I'm irritated. And I let the lady know. And she was incredibly sweet. And she was like, and I heard some stuff about you being sent around. I'm so sorry that happened to you. You know, we're here to support you, what we got to do. So she calmed me down, and she was very, very supportive, very helpful. And so that was kind of my journey, just to get my referral to the right person. And that took about literally, like, it took weeks just to get that. And it just kept going and kept going, and it kept bouncing me back and forth. And I don't mean to assume that they're trying to do it on purpose, but there was no compassion. There was no understanding to, like, I'm 34. I'm not even supposed to be, quote unquote, having these issues. According to what you guys are saying from the beginning, I'm too young to even get a mammogram. So the fact that I'm trying to be as on top of this as I can, and I literally have systems in place that are trying to support me, so I don't even have to be on the phone. You guys are sitting, giving them the runaround, and you keep ping-ponging me. And my condition is getting worse. My blood pressure was through the roof. I was starting to be in pain. I couldn't sleep. My anxiety was out of control. And nobody's listening. So I'm like, at this point, forget it. I don't even want the surgery. So the young lady was like, no, I don't want you to feel like that. The advocate called me and was like, no, Tonya, like, don't even answer your phone no more. Forget it. If they call you, give them my number. And that's how I was able to, like, just go ahead and go through with my surgery. Cause I'm like, I don't even want to do this anymore. I'm irritated. I'm frustrated. I've had enough. And they scheduled my blood work, they scheduled my imaging, my EKG, all that stuff, so that I was okay for surgery, so I wouldn't have to do it. And that was my journey, just to get that part.
We want to pause for a moment to thank our platinum partner, Amgen. Amgen has been a consistent partner who not just talks the talk, they fight hard to illuminate voices and experiences of diverse patients. We're truly thankful for such a beautiful partnership. This conversation is also activated by Genentech and Change for Sean. Thank you to all of our partners. I am like pissed off all over again. Just going through that with you. And, obviously I, nor the Carrie's Touch team, we didn't ever have permission to speak on your behalf. But when I tell you, we called those offices and lit them up and told them that this would become, if something were to happen to you negatively, this would become a national news story. I was livid with them. Just absolute, total disregard. And, another part that stands out for me in your story that you didn't mention, as if all that you have mentioned isn't enough trauma, was that once you were finally able to get scheduled, somehow they canceled your appointment. Tell us about that.
When I asked her not to cancel my referral, I kept saying, if you cancel my referral, if I have to start this all over. And she canceled it twice anyway. And so since she canceled my referral, she canceled my appointment that I had it scheduled for imaging and a second biopsy. So I said, don't bounce me back, because if you cancel this referral, and then she said, so then when I called back a week later, and she says, oh, well, I see that there's two in the system. I'm going to cancel them both, and then you can let the office know to send you another one. I said, no, just take the date of the one that has the most recent date. The other one, just cancel that one. No, I'll just cancel them both. And my mom was like, she said, what? And I said, she's not even listening to me. I'm like, ma'am, no, don't cancel it, because you're going to have to send me back to square one. She wouldn't listen.
Wow. Well, I'm going to give you mad kudos. This is a hard journey for women who are 40 and up. It's not an easy diagnosis. It's not an easy process. And it's definitely not an easy process for Black women. But for you to be, in your early 30s, navigating this, and your tenacity and persistence to fight for your own life is commendable. So even when you got to that point of frustration and saying, I don't want to do it anymore, that is a system that has 100% failed you, because you feel like nobody sees you, nobody hears you, and you just cannot get a break anywhere. And yet, when your mom and when Carrie's touch, we said, hey, we will not leave you. And to have such a supportive boss, to be right there in your corner just lets you know how much you're loved and how worthy of living you actually are. And I just wanted to take this moment to celebrate you and applaud you for staying in it, because it was not. And y'all, listen, Tonya has talked about her journey. And when I tell you she's giving a broad stroke, there are so many more little details that go along with this. But thankfully, you're still here. This campaign is all about, of course, raising awareness and giving voice to humans like yourself who have navigated a cancer journey in the face of multiple obstacles. If you had the opportunity to be in front of a legislator, a policymaker, what would you say to them based on your experience? What kind of laws would you like to see put in place?
I would like to see, if I was in front of them, and laws that I would like to see, one, I would like to see more patient advocates that are culturally competent for everybody. I would like to see more patient advocates with lived experience that are addressing not just numbers and letters on a paper, but the individual as a whole. So before we even get to, okay, well, let me get you scheduled. How are you doing? How is this affecting you? Can you give me a little bit of background of your journey so I know I don't have to force you to repeat your experience, your symptoms, what you're experiencing right now? Are you currently in any pain? For right now, if are you even in the mental headspace to even listen to my questions? If we had legislation in place where it was a requirement for folks that are obtaining these types of positions, that they had to have some type of lived experience or some type of understanding where it's mandatory when you're dealing with patients when it comes to advocacy, would make it a little bit easier for folks that have big communities, small communities, lots of support, no support. And then also all of it needs to be cost free. I'm talking about from beginning to end, from initial to recovery, and then a few months after, 6 months after, because a lot of people think that, once you have the surgery or once you go through the chemo or once you go through, the radiation, and then they say, you're free, you're fine, and that's it. Then that stops the journey and there's no more. People don't understand how much of a financial hit folks take, how much of an emotional and mental hit folks take. And then that hand-holding advocacy, I feel like when it comes to other organizations that are not nonprofit based, like Carrie's Touch, you guys should have someone out hand-holding, walking folks from beginning to at least up to a year as a minimum, in my opinion. I don't think it should stop after that last doctor's appointment or after that last surgery is finished. And if it's like a point where, well, we can only go to the appointment, I feel like doctors' offices should be forced to give folks information on how to connect or automatically connect. Hey, we have this person who's waiting outside, who's going to be able to stay with you for the next 6 months just as a check-in, and just kind of walk with you and, make sure you have what you need, because this is what you can expect from now until X, Y, and Z. It's not a mandatory where you have to give them a call or you have to schedule or a follow-up, but they're going to be checking in with you. I feel like those folks also should be allowed into the waiting room with families. They should be allowed into the recovery room at some point. So there's a way to get some of that type of stuff on the ballot, writing that stuff into law so that it's mandatory for support systems to be in place on a long-term basis. I think that would make things a lot more beneficial.
Great insight and great inquiry about what types of laws need to be in place. Thank you very much. Is there anything that you haven't said that you would like to say?
I forgot to tell you, the day of my surgery, when we talk about constant barriers, and I knew God was in control. When we're talking about barriers, and you heard all of what I had to endure leading up to just getting the surgery scheduled. So literally the day of my surgery, there was no communication on where I was originally supposed to go. They gave me an address. I went to the address, and I would have appreciated some other signs or someone from the medical field to be like, hey, if you're here for X, Y, and Z, it's over here. So myself and my family had to like navigate how to just to find where I was supposed to go just to check in. Once we finally found it, I do my check-in and I'm waiting, and they separate me from my family, and I'm in the back and I'm waiting for my surgery that was scheduled, and I'm still waiting, and my surgery time passes. There's no communication. There's no like, oh, Miss Benefield, we know you've been here 4 hours over. Let me let you know. So my mom and my aunt and my son are literally like texting me. And I'm literally like, I'm not trying to freak out, but I'm like, what's going on? So I'm constantly asking doctors. I'm constantly asking nurses who are getting kind of frustrated with me. I haven't eaten since the day before. I'm cold, tired. And I'm asking, oh, we don't know. I don't know. I'm trying to find out. Hours go by. About 4.5 hours later, almost 5 hours, I have my surgery. I passed my time. And I'm literally asking, because my mom is like on edge, and she's like, if we don't get an answer, I'm coming back there, and there's nobody that's going to be able to stop me. The nurse comes over and she's like, oh, the doctor's about an hour before my surgery. She goes, oh, he's coming. He's just running late. He was in another surgery that ran over. After I had my surgery, and they wheel me back into recovery, I'm waking up. The nurse comes over and she goes, oh yeah, by the way, he wanted me to tell you that the tumor was a little bit bigger than he thought, but you're okay. I was like, I'm on all the medication coming out of surgery. I'm like, my throat, because of it. I'm like, what? What did you just say? Oh, she said, well, when you take off your bandage, the incision spots, the incision area will be a little bit bigger because the tumor was a little bit bigger than what the scan showed. But that's okay. They got everything. I fell back asleep. And so I was like, oh, okay. I fell back asleep. I woke back up and she's asked me about my pain level and things like that. And I asked her again, I said, what did you tell me earlier? And she said, oh, the doctor wanted me to tell you. And she repeats it. And I'm like, so how big was it? Oh, I don't know. But don't worry about that. It's all taken care of. So I finally asked my doctor at my follow-up, and then he tells me, he was like, yeah, he was like, well, when we finally did the surgery, we were able to see there was some other live cells in there, but the tumor had grown a little bit more. So that's what took a little longer. And I remember asking the nurse, I said, well, did somebody tell my family? Because I knew my mom and my aunt were waiting on me, and they were expecting 45 minutes because we were all on FaceTime when he came over to talk to me, let me know he was getting ready to take me back. And he said, oh, yeah. Somebody went out and they let him know. I had forgot to tell you that. And it just came back to my mind because I remember when I took my bandage off, the incision spot or area was way bigger than what we originally thought. And so that's what makes me, when I look at it, I'm just like, I get really upset because I'm like, I wasn't prepared for that. And so it took me a long time, and it's still taking me a minute to the journey doesn't stop after. And as you know, it don't stop after the session is over. After you have your last session or the surgery, like you have to come to terms with like, I just went through that. I just dealt with that. Like, did that really just happen to me? And then when you have to constantly look at the scar, look at the area, look at if it's the hair, if it's the skin, what you have to keep looking at that every day. You have to replay it, and it comes back, and it's just like, I just went through that, And so that's why I say like, it don't stop. So if we have medical professionals who know that and who are paying attention to that small piece, so that the moment you wake up from surgery, the moment you ring that bell and it's it or whatever, it don't stop. You still have somebody walking you through the rest of it, because at 6 o'clock in the morning, I know I probably can, but I can't call my advocate and be like, I'm tired of looking at the scar. My breasts were perfect to me, or whatever the case was, and I'm tired of looking at this. Everybody doesn't have that support where they can pick up the phone and they can be like, girl, your titties are perfect. They still perky as ever, whatever, whatever the case may be. You can really, really spiral and fall into something. And I did for a long, long time, because it took, like I said, it took me a minute to wrap my mind around that, and I know she didn't mean no harm by just saying what she said, because she just doing what she thought was her job. But they don't have that, I think sometimes we call it bedside manner, that peace to be that compassionate and just say the way you can say it. Like, I'm not really sure how to present to you this, but I just want to let you know, not, oh, before you take the bandage off, before you look, that's why it is the way that it is. And I kept meaning to call you and tell you that, and I kept forgetting, but I dealt with that, and I'm still dealing with that and it's a constant reminder, and it's something that you have to constantly talk. The self-talk comes, and you have to talk yourself in and out of it, because when there's things that they throw in that you're not expecting, you really don't know where to go, and you don't really know what to expect. I'm expecting a surgery, I'm expecting a recovery, I'm expecting a this. But the waiting, and there's no communication, the extra stuff, and there's no communication. You actually did find more than what we originally talked about. Bigger than, like, what does that even mean? It was bigger. Was it longer? Was it wider? Was it this, that, and the third? But because you're telling me, oh, but we got it all, but that's it. That's okay. They don't realize, like, when they just throw that last piece on you, especially when you're coming out of surgery, what that does to you mentally and emotionally.
What I want to say to you is I sincerely apologize to you for those persons that don't value your life, that don't consider you to be a human being, that have real feelings and emotions. Because I can guarantee you, people that don't look like you are getting a totally different bedside manner and response. Mm-hmm. And so I'm just going to name the thing, systemic racism, and the hate within a system that doesn't value women that look like us, nor our lives, nor our mental well-being. And all the things that you are asking for are things that are already in place, but they're not in place for us. This series is about access issues, having access to the resources that are already available. First of all, your doctor not even coming in to you to talk to you and passing on a message through a nurse. I don't know how common that is, but I've had a lot of surgeries, and I've been with people with a lot of surgeries over the past 20 years doing this work. And I've never heard anybody tell me that a nurse relayed the results or the outcomes of the surgery that the surgeon performed. I am angry with you around this situation. And what we talk about when we look at a breast cancer journey, we say that the first year, this is my philosophy, the first year is a physical journey, because everything is moving so fast. You're learning a whole new language. You're learning a whole new culture, a whole new process. And then when you have all of the disruptions that you had along the way, you're just fighting with everything that you have in you just to get seen, just to try to stay alive, so you can be here for your son, so you can be here for your mom and your family members and those people that love you. And so the fight is all about the physical. Let's get this cancer out of my body, be it surgery, be it chemotherapy, be it radiation, be it additional hormonal replacement therapy. When that locomotive that is moving at the speed of light abruptly ends, and you hit this brick wall, you're now left with all of the time between the suspicion that there is something not right in your body and the end of the treatment process. And all of that comes full force in that moment, and you're left emotionally to start unpacking what just happened, because you don't know when you're on the train, because it's moving so fast. Mm-hmm. And so that's where you are right now. You're now dealing with the emotional impact of all of this. And so what I want to do is continue to support you and journey with you, because Carrie's Touch has in place resources for you specifically. Don't say, oh no, I'll save it for somebody else. If you need it, let's get you connected so you can talk through this and have somebody that has gone through the journey to hold your hand and to walk with you, to help you pick up the pieces and make peace with what is, right?
Right.
So that's not how this typically goes, but I just want to again extend that type of love and support to you. And in respect of everything that you have just shared, I am just filled with gratitude and humility. And so I don't want to send you back to work raw like the folks did at the hospital with you. And you'll be unpacking this for the rest of the day. Anytime we tell our story, it stays with us. But just to lighten it up a little bit, if I may ask you, what is your preference, day or night?
Night.
Chocolate or vanilla?
Vanilla.
Breakfast or dinner?
Breakfast.
Favorite type of music?
R&B.
And finally, what brings you joy?
There's two different things. One, I love serving my community. Two, if I'm able to get a personal pizza, sit on my couch, and binge watch Friends, I'm at my happiest moment.
What kind of pizza do you order?
I love Round Table. I love Round Table, and I love Pizza Hut. But my son hates it, but the Supreme, the one with everything on it, all the veggies, all the meats, all that, the more the better. That's my favorite pizza.
Well, I tell you what, I don't know if you have the time to binge watch Friends tonight, but Carrie's Touch would love to buy you your pizza so that you can have it. Since your son hates that, we'll get him his pizza too.
He plain. He just like cheese.
Oh, him and I would get along very well. So we'll get him a cheese pizza and get you your, I think it's called King Arthur's. Is that what it's called?
Yes, that's
and I don't even eat that pizza, but I know what that is.
It's one of their best sellers. I think that one and the pineapple one is their best seller.
Pizza definitely cannot take away the anguish of your experiences, but hopefully it's a small token to let you know that once you met Carrie's Touch and Carrie's Touch met you, that meant that we were bonded forever. So you're not alone in this journey. You could be 10 years down the road and something come up and you may not have been talking to us. That's not what I'm planning for you. You may not have talked to us for 9 years. If you need us, we are here for you. That is just how we get down.
I appreciate you guys so much. Like I tell you guys helped save my life, and I wouldn't have made it through this without y'all. So I'm ever grateful.
Tonya Benefield, sis, I am so glad that you are still with us, and I'm so glad that you fought so hard to make sure that you were seen. And I'm so glad that you knew, even as a young woman, to advocate for yourself. You are an inspiration and a role model to many. Thank you to renowned virtual photographer John Keatley and his incredible team. A special thanks to Photos by A-Love LLC, April Jones, retouch artist, and to the dedicated Carrie's Touch tribe for your unwavering support in helping us create stories that heal. And another big thank you to our platinum sponsor, Amgen. For more information about these stories and other survivor support and advocacy information, visit us at our website at www.carriestouch.org.